Then they showed another guy smiling without his mask on. That's not the killer. They're doing bait and switch. That guy, the guy that did the shooting, is what's called a weaponized sleeper cell. So a person who is MK Ultra'd in childhood, okay, MK Ultra'd, system at Monarch, mind control. It's a thing, and it started in the late 40s. It's a thing. It's a thing. It was a thing in World War II. They started all these experiments. That person who did the shooting is a sleeper cell. He was triggered and he woke up like a pod person. So one day he was probably playing video games with his family and doing shit like that, and then boom, like that. And he turns on and he's like, I must kill that man. And he doesn't even know why. What's super interesting is I listened to a interview with the guy that tried to shoot Reagan and wanted to shoot Jodie Foster, or wanted to shoot Bush and Reagan, that guy, whatever his name is. I've brought this up before. Anyway, he says he has no recollection of what he did. And he's also a cousin of the Bush family. MK Ultra. So he's put out there, yes, the man, hitman, obviously, Jason, that guy. They show that guy, but then they showed another guy smiling without his mask on. That's not the killer. They're doing bait.
We're here on Live Now from Fox, and we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of raping a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit, and the new allegations are just coming out this evening. Jay-Z is being accused of raping a minor along with Diddy at a MTV VMAs after party back in 2000, according to documents obtained by Fox News Digital tonight. The lawsuit, which was initially filed back in October, was refiled tonight in New York by an anonymous accuser claiming Jay-Z, whose full name is Sean Carter, raped her while Combs and Celebrity B watched. So that other celebrity was not named. Initially, the lawsuit stated Combs raped the minor while Celebrity A and Celebrity B watched. Carter was named as Celebrity A in the refiled lawsuit. Representatives for Jay-Z did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital request for comment. Combs and Carter allegedly, quote, took turns assaulting the minor, according to the lawsuit. Many others were present at the after party, but did nothing to stop the assault, it alleges. The 13-year-old girl was dropped off at Radio City Music Hall by a friend as she wanted to attend the MTV Video Music Awards back in 2000, according to the lawsuit. In an attempt to gain entry to the venue, she began approaching limousine drivers waiting outside the celebrity-filled event. One of the limousine drivers she spoke to claimed to work for Diddy, the lawsuit read. He told her that Combs liked younger girls and said that, quote, she fit what Diddy was looking for, not allowing her into the awards, but inviting her to an after party. The 13-year-old, quote, recognized many celebrities upon arrival at the party and was required to sign a non-disclosure agreement. However, she was not given a copy. Combs, who would have been 30 years old at the time, then allegedly attempted to force the girl to perform oral sex on him. He stopped after she hit him in the neck, according to the lawsuit here. So now Jay-Z being accused in this now 24 years ago, raping a 13-year-old alongside Diddy at an after party here. So these are the newest allegations rocking the music world this evening, and we wanted to bring that to your attention all right here on Live Now from Fox. Of course, we will continue to follow this major story as the Diddy saga continues, and now more celebrities getting caught up in it here. These new allegations rocking Hollywood and the music industry as we speak right now.
Your big leg ass don't make 3 times the rent. And you know what? Black don't crack.
You can have a lovely day.
Y'all age in minutes. See, 5 minutes ago, you was 23. Now your ass 48.
You're gonna have to
Hold
leave.
on, let me get my stuff. And what I want to tell y'all is,
He's not leaving.
you can't call the police. If you want me to leave, just ask me to leave, and I will leave.
Thank you.
All you had to do was ask that.
Have a lovely day.
That's what I want to tell you. Your ass 35, but you look 2,000.
Bye.
With your quarter leg ass.
This man's name right here is Ratliff. And essentially what he does is you file a complaint through his company's website, and he goes up to your job site and lets your boss, manager, or GM, whoever, know of your complaints, and they're completely anonymous. So he goes up to your job, and yes, you guessed it,
We cuss their ass out.
I mean, can you name a better company? If only they were hiring. But what would even be the qualifications to apply for such an exquisite career? I mean, certainly you need a PhD in something. No. But what might be some of the qualifications to apply for such a position? Well, that's what we're going to go over right now. It's stated here in the official employee handbook. Masters in verbal artistry. Knowing how to cuss isn't just allowed, it's encouraged. Express yourself. Back talk black belt. Can't mind talking back? Perfect. We value strong opinions and even stronger voices. Interruption imperative. Master the art of cutting someone off mid. Parental profanity prowess. If you cuss at your kids often, you'll fit right in. Bro, hygiene hero. Great hygiene is non-negotiable. I mean that's a must at any job, I would assume, especially one as exquisite as this. Must go the extra mile. Willingness to go the extra mile for no reason. That's the spirit we're looking for. iPhoneiac. An iPhone isn't just a device, it's a way of life. Make sure you're part of the club. Ugliness unacceptable. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but let's just say we trust our eyes a lot. Solo parent squad. Coming from a single parent household isn't mandatory, but it sure does add to your character. I mean, hey, I don't even know my mom or my dad, so what does that add? Education, high school diploma or GED, kind of required, but we're more interested in street smarts. I mean, I'm pretty street smart. I still got a high school diploma though, so do I qualify? You must smoke or drink, or better yet, both. We believe in living life to the fullest. Bruh. Comeback king, queen. Witty with a talent for timely comebacks. You're in. I mean, bro, they used to call me the roast pop culture pro. Know at least 2 lines from All About the Benjamins or Friday. I mean, damn. So yeah, guys, what do y'all think? And yes, this is real. He actually has a real website. I'll pin it in the comments. This is real. He does all this. This is real. He actually pulls up to people's jobs and cusses them out. I've watched every single video. And yes, I did fill out an application. I filled out about 15. So yeah, just waiting on a response. It's Herbie. Oh, and by the way, here's his YouTube. Make sure y'all give that a follow. I mean, this stuff is just hilarious. But that'll be it for the video. Please like, follow, share. Send this to OCDA's official webpage. Tell them they got a real trying to apply there. They just got a real gangster trying to get up in there. So, yeah.
Who asked that?
Yeah.
That's what I want to tell you. You add 35, but you look 2,000. What's your quarter leg ass? You was an absentee father, stands on top of stairs and look down like he's looking over a plantation. Says you accuse all black people of stealing. He's racist towards black people. You think all black people are lazy. That kind of don't sit well with me. He's 97% prejudiced. They didn't say racist, they said prejudice, but to me personally, I think all of it is the same. It doesn't like black people. They say right here, she's an entitled redneck. He's racist and only put white people in better positions. Like to drug test all the black people. Racist and nasty to black applicants. Always looking for a reason to deny them. He in a neo-Nazi group. Do you know the history of slavery?
I don't even know who you are.
We the ones who taught y'all how to wash y'all ass. Y'all ain't know how to wash y'all ass till we taught y'all. That's what's going on. Look it up. Y'all be trying to sweep our history under a rug. Y'all ain't know how to wash up. We taught y'all how to wash y'all ass and be clean. See, she got something to hide. That's redneck attitude right there. Is how can you be racist and don't take care of your kids? So you just hate everybody. You're talking about, cause y'all think y'all can just move in our community and treat us any kind of way. That ain't how it works. You just another prejudiced white man with dirty titties. I know you pussy ass niggas ain't no Nazis. Yeah, look at this lady. Look at this lady. Her neck ain't red. Black don't crack.
You can have a lovely day.
Y'all age in minutes. See, 5 minutes ago, you was 23. Now you ass 48. Yeah, I know. Her neck red as hell. Y'all in here disrespecting people, and I know you niggas ain't no Nazis. This is what we have to do. And we don't care if you appreciate it or not. There's no cotton out there. Your ass 35, but you look 2,000.
So I've created my own gas station that makes fuel from plastic waste. Let's go. So this is plastic crude oil. And as you can see, we have quite a bit of this plastic crude oil. Well, it can be fuel, but we need to refine it and clean it up. So let's do that.
I want you to see what you look like praying.
I want y'all to understand that we've been taught to believe that we need to do this in order to receive. In order to receive something in which we lack, in order to get blessings. I want y'all to see this, right? Because maybe y'all not seeing it when y'all doing it. But this is what we supposed to do. Thank you, God. Help me, God. Please, God. Bless me, God. Yes, God. Baby, what are you begging for? This is the lowest frequency, low vibrational energy. I'm going to beg on my knees for some sort of deliverance? You better get the fuck up.
Help us make this make sense.
Please make it make sense. Maybe you need to see me do it because this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing to save ourselves because somebody outside of us has to save us. Huh? You know when I pray now, you know what I say? I'm demanding that $1 million. I'm prosperous. I'm healed. I'm happy. I'm loved. I'm healing. I'm the divine goddess. I'm demanding everything in my life. I'm not doing this. That's root chakra energy. Now we operating in a low frequency, low vibrational.
Ashe.
Now I'm creating from this. I'm speaking. Oh God, please save me from suffering. Please. The universe doesn't understand what you're speaking. It understands frequency. So if you're in this low vibrational frequency of begging to be saved, to be delivered, you ain't, that's what they taught us to believe, that you need to be saved outside of yourself. Somebody has to come save you. You can't save yourself. Make this shit make sense.
Hello? Talk to us now. Talk to us. They ain't woke. They ain't ready. Because they ain't woke. They ain't ready.
See the stone? The huge stone. It goes to the back of the building, all the way to the back. In the Bronx, we pay our rent to a certain group of people, right? We all know who we pay our rent to. Same group of people. Same kind. Their neighborhood got a nice big piece of stone. This goes down. Even the stone goes down. This is fire. We need one of these in every one of our neighborhoods. Facts. ASAP. The fuck this shit doing here? I don't think I could reach the stone. I can't reach the stone. Stonework. Fire. See? Let's keep going. Stonework. Once again, these steps do not belong here. It's here to cover up the stonework. Fake door, they put this there. Look, they're covering up the stonework. It goes down. You still see it all the way to the top. Like, this how high this building was. Look, we done went up 7 floors. I'm in a whole nother area code. Like, we done made another level. Oh, this is amazing, y'all. As soon as we get to the top. As soon as we get to the top of the steps, look. This is real, y'all. This is stonework at its finest. You see it? Real stone!
All African Americans came from Africa. We were a global melanated planet, which means we were absolutely everywhere. Melanated people were not only on the continent of Africa, we were everywhere. But part of the imprisoning of our consciousness has come from making us feel like we were only in some parts, and Europe belonged to the Mzungus, and Asia belonged to the Asians, and Africa belonged to the Africans. It's a global invasion, beloveds. We were everywhere. And so there are those African American brothers and sisters. I'm sorry I keep calling you African American. Native American, who just know, they feel such a connection to that land. But they created this narrative like everyone was a slave. And that's how they were able to disenfranchise the few that weren't taken out in the invasion and kind of box them up in, with the slaves. Move out of the cities, beloveds, but get yourself a piece of land and affect the destiny of the land and the nation. It makes you a custodian, and this is something we've never been told. And this is why Babylon has gone and tried to buy land all over the world. So once you have the land, beloveds,
you couldn't mingle with white folks like you can now.
You could mingle with them?
No,
Really?
Whatever white folks say, they take their wood. They don't take your wood. But if you're smart enough, you know how to handle them.
Oh.
So
mic drop.
If you smart enough. So listen to this. The white folks act like they all rich and they got this and they got that. But it ain't like they saying it is to you. They tell you that. My brother said, "Bud." I said, "What?" He said, "Them white folks, them white children got them big pails." He said, "Yeah, they got them big pails." He said, "You think they got a lot of food in there?" I said, "Between me and you?" He said, "What?" I said, "When their car break down, we may like we friends to them. So we get a chance to look in their lunch bucket." My brother said, You think that'll work? I said, yeah, act like we like them. We don't like them. We just act like we like them. And we get chance to look in their lunch bucket. First time the car broke down, that's our chance. My brother said, what you mean by our chance? I said, because it's cold outside, we'll tell them they can come in and go in our kitchen, because our kitchen is warm. And they'll go in there and they feel how nice and warm it is. They want to stay in there. While they in there getting warm, I'm going to take the lunch bucket.
Oh, God.
That way, I said, I'm going to take the lunch bucket and open and look in there and see what's in there. I said, why are you showing him our kitchen and what kind of stove we got? They paying it attention. I said, now see what they got in there. My brother said, oh yeah, boy, that's good. That's a good stove. We thought they had got the big thing like that. We thought they had a whole lot of food and stuff in there. Had one apple in that big thing. What? Don't laugh. I said, we called my brother man, one round man. I said, man. He said, huh? I said, come here. He said, what? I said, look in the lunch bucket. He said, one apple in the lunch bucket? I said, yeah. He said, buddy, he got one apple in the lunch bucket. I said, yeah. I said, me like you think he got a whole lot of. I said, you get a chance to see what he got in there. Man said, what? Tell him, say, come in and look in my lunch bucket and see what I got in there.
So you think he might have ate everything, or he just never had nothing?
See what you got in that way. See what you got in there. Got one apple. Got the lunch bucket big as that red thing there with one apple in there.
One apple in there.
One apple in there.
So you think they just was acting like they had so much?
We said, you gonna open your lunch bucket? We already done looked in there. He said, yeah. We said, you got a lot of stuff in your lunch bucket, ain't you? We look at one another. He said, yeah, I got a lot of stuff. We said, what all you got in there? He started naming off the stuff. Apples.
And y'all knew he was lying.
Oh, that's what he's supposed to have in there. He don't know. We already know what's in there. We said, oh, you got all that good stuff in there, and you gonna let us have some of it? I can't let you have none of it because my mama and daddy back find out. We said, oh, they ain't gonna find out.
He was faking, huh?
Wait, we go in the lunch bucket, eat up all this stuff. We eat their stuff up.
Oh, y'all would get people's lunch buckets and eat the stuff?
We get in their lunch bucket. We said, you can't tell your mom and dad now that.
How would you get their lunch buckets? This story went about 3 different ways.
Hey, Krista, you just don't know. My brother said, booty. I said, He said, we gonna eat it all up. I said, yeah. I said, we just leave a little piece where we bit off, leave it in there.
Y'all was trying to get
I
home.
was the one where my brother said, ask her. She know everything. And she know how to do it. He said, it's done rain, and we're going to scatter the foot log, and we're going to go down and break.
There's video footage of the Nestle CEO trying to justify to people why he believes water is not a basic human right. From here on now, I am boycotting all Nestle products. How do you go to sleep at night justifying to yourself that water is not a basic human right. The way he even tried to put it too was so stupid. He was all like, I understand that the extreme view is that people think that water should be a public right, should be basic human right. But I believe it to be under the category of food stuff, as in food, as in things that you should buy, as in things that should have value. Yeah, you can take your chocolate milk syrup and shove it way up your ass. You CEOs are wildin' right now. And in no way this video has the intent to scare you guys or threaten you guys or anything like that. I'm just advising, double up, triple up, quadruple up on your security.
So I'm not a follower of Bashar and I don't agree with everything that he talks about, but there was one thing that he said that was true. I seen a video where he was talking about why extraterrestrials were taking so long to reveal themselves openly to the world. And he explained that one of the reasons why they're taking so long to reveal themselves is because their frequency is so high that if one of us were to encounter them, it would feel like you're having an encounter with God or spirit. And I gotta say, that was actually true. Now, like I said, I don't agree with everything that Bashar says, but that I know for a fact was true. That was a perfect description of what it's like when you encounter one of these beings. And I'm speaking as somebody who has got abducted before. Back in 2022, when I got abducted, I've spoke about this a couple times, but back in 2022, when I got abducted and I was allowed access to a ship and I was face to face with these three beings, their energy was so intense, and it's an intensity that I really can't explain. It's almost like when people die and they say that they see certain things, and then when they come back, they're like, they can't really explain it, you just have to experience it. Well, when I was face to face with these three beings, their energy was so intense that it literally felt like I was standing in front of God. And looking into their eyes felt like I was looking into the entire fucking galaxy, the universe. Like, anybody that I've told this story to would tell you that this is how this is the best way I can describe these beings that I encountered on this ship. Their energy was so fucking intense that it felt like it makes you want to worship them. And that's why I personally believe too that the positive ones are kind of taking long to fully reveal themselves, is because in humans, there's actually a worship gene in humans that makes us want to worship something outside of ourselves. But their energy is like so intense that it almost makes you want to worship them. Like, it's something you almost like can't resist. And I don't know how to explain it. Like I said, it's something that you really gotta experience to know what the fuck I'm talking about. But anybody who's had encounters with these higher vibrational beings, and you'll know that their energy is so fucking intense that it feels like you're standing in front of God, or like some type of, it just feels like God. That's the best way I could describe it. And I really do believe that that is one of the reasons why these beings are taking long to reveal themselves, is because their energy is so intense that naturally people would start to worship them. And the positive ones, they don't want people to worship them. It's only the negative ones that want people to worship them, like they did in the old days when they convinced everyone that they were gods. And this is where all these gods from all these religions come from. Like, majority of these different gods that you hear about, they're really different extraterrestrial beings that came down here and convinced humans that they were gods and that humans should serve them. So Bashar was 1,000% right when he said that.
Shocking history of dark-skinned Native Americans reveal the true ancestors of Black Americans.
The way African Americans view their heritage and identity has completely changed in the modern day. The idea that all African Americans are descended from African slaves transported by the transatlantic slave trade has persisted up until this point. It was thought that their forefathers were slaves with no other identification, and that they were foreigners who had traveled from Africa. However, the history that has been obscured and forgotten today reveals that African Americans' ancestors were indigenous to the United States. What proof exists that African Americans are descended from America's Aborigines, in contrast to the vast majority of the country's white people, who are the real outsiders arriving from Europe? Let's learn more about this in this video. Numerous indigenous tribes with a diverse range of physical traits, languages, and cultural customs lived in the Black History era, long before European invaders. Tightly curled hair and broad facial features were characteristics of these tribes, which included the Yamasee, Shaka, and other Caribbean and South American populations. Their dark-skinned tribes were native to the Americas, but European colonists mistakenly believed they were of African ancestry because of their traits. The same presumption, however, later resulted in their inclusion in the African racial group, which was the cause of their complete removal from the record as American tribes of dark-skin ancestry. European explorers' views and historical documents provide insights into these tribes' existence. For example, the physical diversity of Native American populations was thoroughly covered by explorer James Adair in his 1775 book The History of the American Indians. Adair compared the darker skin tones of some tribes to those of the Moors in Africa. Similar findings were made by other explorers and settlers, but their reports were frequently skewed by racial bias and a fixation with classification. These dark-skinned Aborigine tribes were eventually labeled as black, erasing their distinctive origins, as the colonists sought to establish rigid racial hierarchy. However, as we learn more about these dark-skinned tribes, their existence calls into question the oversimplified racial divisions that European colonists forced upon the Americas. It was challenging for the colonists to classify these tribes because of their obsession with race and skin color. The racial order that placed Europeans above all other groups would be appended if they recognized these dark-skinned people as Native Americans. In order to erase their identities as indigenous peoples and contribute to the misconception that all dark-skinned people in America were of African ancestry, colonizers frequently mixed these tribes with African slaves. There were several reasons for this historical oblivion. European colonizers strengthened the idea of racial inferiority that supported slavery and the eviction of Native Americans from their homeland by classifying dark-skinned Native Americans as African slaves. Because it made it simpler for Europeans to treat Native Americans and Africans as property, this classification also made it easier for these native populations to be enslaved. They lost their native identity while being enslaved. The argument that a sizable portion of the black people in modern-day America has Aboriginal ancestry is being made because of this. This is due to the fact that 5.5 million Native Americans were held as slaves in the Americas between 1492 and 1880, but this fact is not well known. The transatlantic slave trade, which took 12.5 million Africans to the Americas, coincided with this practice, and the two enslavement systems were closely related. Native Americans with dark skin were especially susceptible to slavery because of their physical similarity to Africans. Native Americans were enslaved and sold in the same marketplaces as Africans because European settlers frequently failed to distinguish between these two populations. For Native Americans with darker coloring, this lack of distinction had serious repercussions. Being enslaved meant losing one's identity in addition to one's freedom. Once enslaved, they were compelled to follow the traditions of their European captors, which resulted in the suppression of their cultural practices, languages, and histories. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and like the video in order to help us create more videos for you. It facilitates the algorithm so that more individuals may see this information. Now let's go on. It's interesting to note that the English colonies were not the only places where slavery and erasure occurred. For instance, many Native Americans were enslaved by Spanish colonists, especially in the Caribbean and South America, where there were many indigenous people with dark skin. In his book The Other Slavery, The Uncovered Story of Indian Enslavement in America, historian Andrés Rienz describes how the enslavement of Native Americans was a common practice that was essential to the growth of the colonial economy. African slaves and black Aboriginal tribes shared a common experience and a common goal of achieving liberation because they were both enslaved. This promoted interfaith marriage by bringing the two communities closer together. It should not be mistaken, though, that African Americans today are descended from black Aboriginal people. Technically, these kinds of marriages produced hybrid children with both Native American and African ancestry when black Aborigines married Africans. However, when the black Aborigines married each other, they continued to have dark-skinned, African-looking children. As a result, African Americans today have an equal probability of being Native American and African or Native American only. You should be aware that mixed-race people were not reclassified by accident. It was a component of the U.S. government's larger plan to take Native American resources and territory. The Dawes Act of 1887 was one of the most important laws in this area. By splitting common tribal lands into individual allotments, the Dawes Act, also called the General Allotment Act, sought to integrate Native Americans into European American civilization. Allotments of land were made to Native Americans who were listed on tribal rolls. Those who were not included in this procedure. However, it was frequently purposefully difficult for people of mixed African and Native American origin to claim their Native American background. The government may deny these people the land rights associated with tribal membership by labeling them African Americans instead of Native Americans. There were two reasons for this reclassification. It eliminated the indigenous identity of those of African heritage and decreased the number of individuals eligible for land allotments, hence increasing the quantity of land available for European settlement. Due to the fact that they were slaves and had dark skin, native tribes were denied their land. This made it easier for the American authorities to dismiss the original black tribes as Africans vying for land. The United States government was also able to seize a significant quantity of Native American territory thanks to the Dawes Act. Under the strategy, the government was able to sell surplus land, land that was not given to specific Native Americans, to European settlers. The government was able to deny land allocations to people of mixed African and Native American heritage by reclassifying them as African Americans, which made it easier to seize native territories. Native American communities suffered greatly as a result of this land expropriation process. Many were displaced and lost their ancestral lands. There were significant cultural repercussions as well from the classifications of mixed people. The government helped erase Native American heritage within the African American population by classifying them as African Americans. The indigenous heritage of African Americans with Native descent was eventually forgotten, as they were encouraged to identify only with their African roots. Even though a sizable portion of the African American population is probably derived from Native tribes, this erasure was so thorough that many African Americans today are ignorant of their Native American heritage. Black people's physical characteristics, cultural customs, and family history all reflect their background today. Some seem very different while being black, while others have a culture and appearance similar to Africans. This is due to the fact that they are direct descendants of black Aboriginal people, rather than having a mixed heritage. For instance, certain African Americans share physical traits with Native Americans, like straight hair, prominent cheekbones, and specific skin tones. Even though Native American heritage has been obliterated from history for many years, these characteristics serve as live reminders of it for many African Americans. During the transatlantic slave trade, African Americans were taught that their ancestors were exclusively African slaves who were transported to the Americas. This story leaves out the indigenous heritage that many African Americans share, even though it is not wholly untrue. The U.S. government and European settlers led to a skewed perception of African American identity by severing this relationship, which caused many to become estranged from their complete lineage. African Americans are currently involved in a growing effort to rediscover the lost history and reclaim their Native American heritage. What are your thoughts? Do the majority of African Americans now have Native American or African slave ancestry? Based on your family's true stories, what do you know about your ancestry? Post your ideas in the space provided for comments directly below. Tell us what you think about the fact that African Americans are more native-born Americans than European-born white Americans. Do you want to see more videos from us? If so, kindly click the bell icon and When talking about influential Africans in European history, it's fair to wonder if we've forgotten about them or if they've been written out of history entirely. How difficult is it to reveal these facts? Efforts to eradicate any representations of black people as deities or in positions of authority were common goals of the iconoclast movement, according to historians. Many people call those who hold this view historical revisionists. The existence of a substantial black aristocracy in Europe before 1453 is suggested by more than simply a handful of images. A large amount of evidence still exists, even though there have been constant attempts to hide and eradicate this African presence for centuries. In 1352, Jacob van Maerlant painted a renowned scene depicting Charlemagne vanquishing a Moorish chief, but the chief was portrayed as a black African by the artist. A foundation built on the wisdom of the past sings the wisdom that will build our tomorrow. The truth is that historical revisionists are the ones who refuse to acknowledge the mountain of evidence showing that black people, as part of a second wave of civilizing influence, revitalized Europe and set the stage for its renaissance. Black Africans introduced literature, science, religion, and culture to Europe and the Levant after creating agriculture about 9500 BC and building the two most important civilizations of antiquity, Sumer and Kemet, also known as Ancient Egypt. These innovations were passed down to the Roman Empire, which used them until it fell in the 5th century AD. The Moors, an ethnic group originally from Africa, arrived to Europe in the 8th century just as the continent was plunging into the Dark Ages. They brought with them the technology and knowledge that had halted its progress up until that point. The ethnic composition of the Moors changed throughout the 800 years that they ruled Spain. In the era before the Renaissance in Europe, the first waves of Moors, mostly black Africans, held great sway and filled important positions of power. As they joined the first wave of civilizers, these early Moors established a new class of elites across Europe. All sorts of relics and documents from the past attest to their existence. Just because black Africans played a crucial role in the Renaissance doesn't mean that Asians and Europeans can't establish civilizations as well. On the contrary, it emphasizes how the Dark Ages Europe profited much from the reintroduction of scientific knowledge, philosophical ideas, medical practices, and architectural masterpieces brought by a black African elite who eventually became a noble class. Countless pieces of medieval art and literature lend credence to this assertion. Our goal in the development of both ancient and modern societies. The channel would not exist without the support of those who see the value of history for people of all backgrounds. Historical personalities are portrayed in memoirs of the Secret Service of John Mackey with great detail. One account that stands out is that of Mr. Methuen, Portugal's ambassador. He is characterized as a man of intrigue with a very muddy complexion, and in manners much like a Spaniard, a tall black man 50 years old. To this day, Mackey has never changed his description of the Moors, calling them tall men of black complexion. This portrayal is consistent with the Moors seen in medieval manuscripts, sculptures, and paintings. Artists and authors of the time often depicted the Moors with distinctive black looks, even though the Moorish population was comprised of Arabs as well as black Africans. This was due to the great number of black Africans among the Moors. The Almoravids, who were mainly black Africans from what is now Mali and Mauritania, were one powerful group. Among their many innovations that they transported to Europe was the horseshoe arch. The following is an account of the Almoravids from the Historia Compostelana. After almost 3 years, the Almoravids, Mobit, whom the heat of the sun makes similar to the Ethiopians, invaded the fortresses and dependent towns of Toledo and attacked with more force than usual. Adding to the description, before they ruled, they had worn their veil in the desert only against the heat and cold as the Arabs do, and were mostly of dark Asmar complexion. A shade as black as coal is described by the Arabic word Asmar. Identifiable black characteristics were used to portray leaders such as Abu Bakr ibn Umar. Europe was in a state of disarray in 711 AD when the Moors spearheaded their conquest of Spain. Europe was in shambles, with hunger, ignorance, illness, and anarchy ravaging the continent 3 centuries ago, when the Roman Empire collapsed. With the coming of the Moors came the fast advancement of European society and the unification of previously divided groups under the Church. Despite their negative reputation, the Moors introduced many innovations to the region, including the Arabic numeral system, geometry, mathematics, medicine, agriculture, building, music, navigation, papermaking, and waterworks. In the end, these things were crucial to the Renaissance that happened in Europe. These Africans frequently brought Arabic translations of classical Greek writings back to Europe, ensuring their survival. Africans began to make more and more appearances in European royal and nobility families as the ages passed. A lot of Europeans even saw their gods reflected in this black presence. Still, many people have a hard time seeing Africans as revered characters because of the iconoclast movement's persistent efforts in this regard. Iconoclasm has been around since at least the 8th century. However, it takes on a more muted form in modern times. Historians cherry-pick instances that support the slave narrative while ignoring the divine or nobility roles played by black people. The remarkable evolution of depictions of Queen Elizabeth I over time is a startling illustration of this historical erasure. Chronicles of Black's Channel delves into this viewpoint in depth, using primary sources and peer-reviewed research to highlight the frequently neglected African influence and presence throughout history. In his letter, Ambassador Giovanni Michel said, "She was born to Henry VIII and Anne, an Englishwoman of high family, after Queen Catherine's, the current queen's, rejection. Your Serenity should know this because she is the sister of the present queen. Despite being beheaded for adultery 2 years later, my Lady Elizabeth was born in September 1533, making her 23 years old today. Although her face is more attractive than handsome, this young woman is just as well regarded for her intellect as she is for her physical beauty. She has good-looking, though swarthy, skin, and is tall and toned." Swarthy means dark complexion or black in Old English, in case you were wondering. Despite this, Elizabeth is typically shown in pictures with pale complexion and fiery red hair. Pay attention to this because it will be crucial later on. Sir James Melvin gives the following description of Elizabeth in his work English and Scottish History, which is another version of her. Her naturally curly hair was more reddish than yellow. She wanted to know if my hair was considered the best hue, if hers or my queen's was better, and which of the two was the fairest. Many of these women have naturally curly red hair, which is a common hairstyle for black women. The description of Elizabeth as having dark skin and red curly hair is therefore constant. In case you needed more proof that iconoclasm destroyed many depictions of black aristocracy, here is how Queen Elizabeth describes Sir Francis Walsingham in her book Queen Elizabeth by Alison Weir. Having received an education at Cambridge and Padua, Walsingham became a member of Parliament when he was nearly 40 years old. Cecil, who later became his patron, gave him a position at court and made him head of his secret operatives. Elizabeth dubbed Walsingham more due of his dark complexion and black attire. That Sir Francis Walsingham was swarthy of complexion, and the Queen's nickname for him, Moor, is plain to see in this passage. But if we look for pictures of him, we can see that he is everything but swarthy. Black Moors didn't just show up in England. They showed up all over Europe, even in unexpected spots. The monarch in Scotland during the 10th century was called Dub Mac Mael Coluim. Historical dictionaries suggest that Dub used to denote black in Scotland. His complexion has been lightened in subsequent portrayals, but it was previously shown as dark. By narrating the reign of Kenneth the Niger over 3 Scottish districts, the Mystery of Legends of Scotland verifies the existence of black Scots. According to author and archaeologist David Macritchie, the Moors remained in Scotland until the reign of the Saxon monarchs. Throughout the Middle Ages, black aristocracy was still present on the European peninsula. A medallion from 16th century Italy shows a European king with distinct African characteristics. The king's identity is unknown. The same holds true for the 12th century Italian philosopher Ibn Rushd, also known as Averroes. Among the many black Moors who held the throne were rulers of great empires, such as the Byzantine Empire. In the Relatio of Liutprand of Cremona, for example, Nicephorus II Phocas is portrayed as very quickly through the thickness and length of his hair, in the color of an Ethiopian, someone you wouldn't want to cross paths with in the dead of night. The way he is portrayed in contemporary art, however, differs greatly from this description. The most revered Byzantine monarch of all time, John II Komnenos, 1118 to 1143, was characterized as. Despite being known as the Moor, this man is of medium height and has black hair and skin. William of Tyre's Chronology, 1523. Likewise, according to Nicetas Choniates, who lived during his time, Manuel I Komnenos was described as one particular Ethiopian with dark skin. As they crowned him emperor of the Romans, they escorted him in a royal parade. But photos of them taken after the iconoclast period look different. King Augustus the Strong of Poland, Polish nobleman Leszek the Black from the 13th century, Polish knight Zawisza the Black, Queen Charlotte of the Holy Roman Empire, whose family tree includes Moorish-Portuguese blood, and the list goes on and on. Edward of York's wife, Philippa of Hainaut, was born in 1310 in Valenciennes, France, and she too had black Moorish descent. Also reflecting black influence spanning ages are figures such as theologian Jacobus Capitin, composer George Bridgetower, who rivaled Beethoven, and writer Alexander Dumas, *The Three Musketeers*. The African heritage of numerous European nobles, knights, judges, dukes, duchesses, viscounts, led to the incorporation of black phenotypic into European cultural rites. There are numerous fascinating activities that come to light when one looks at the long-lasting cultural aspects that originated in medieval Europe. Wearing wigs is the earliest famous practice. This custom originated in the courtroom, and historical records reveal that attorneys were expected to present themselves in court with neat, short hair and beards until the 17th century. For all intents and purposes, wigs made their debut in courtrooms as a social accessory. Wearing a wig was considered proper courtesies during the reign of Charles II, 1660 to 1685. Who, then, was the model that the populace was trying to emulate? They were acting out a scene from Henry II. The Merry Monarch, Charles II, 1630 to 1685, was a healthy-looking infant who appeared much older at 4 months of age. He looked like a 1-year-old, according to his mother's complaint. Charles, who was referred to as a tall black man on parliamentary wanted posters, began fighting in the English Civil War when he was 12 years old. If Charles II was said to be a tall black guy, then why wouldn't artworks included on Wikipedia reflect that? you probably already know the drill. His natural hairstyle, together with that of old black nobility, started to impact important parts of European society. The pictures show how the curly hair on the shoulders of the medieval Whigs resembles the hairstyles of Africans. The issue it begs is, whose hair was it that these Whigs were trying to imitate, if not African hairstyles? These wigs are definitely unlike your average European haircut, thanks to their tightly curled texture. Black Africans are the only people on the planet with this unique style of kinky hair. The YouTube channel straight up raised the question of why anybody, particularly members of high society and monarchy, would go for these specific African hairstyles if given the choice. The big posterior, which was once rejected or scorned but is today highly sought after, was another characteristic that women in medieval Europe imitated. For instance, in the 2020s, there were around 397,000 Brazilian butt lift procedures performed on women. This does not even account for the countless women who dedicate countless hours to the gym to gain muscle in that particular area. Women in medieval Europe went so far as to fashion accessories like the bustle to draw attention to their posteriors. Lipstick, in my opinion, may have first been designed to mimic another trait, specifically the larger, more desirable lips of black women. Nonetheless, I will investigate this further at a later time. This in no way implies that white women are less attractive than black women. The evidence merely demonstrates that black women in authoritative roles had a profound impact on medieval European society, inspiring a desire to emulate their looks and demeanor. Curiously, the inverse is also true. Some black women are attempting to mimic more conventional European hairstyles. We must acknowledge that mainstream historians' depictions of history may be, at most, erroneous and at worst deceiving, as Benjamin Franklin put it. Franklin penned, "Why should we put up with the invading Palatine Boers, who are actually Germans, settling down in our towns and gradually replacing our language and customs with theirs? Why should Pennsylvania, a province originally settled by English, become a melting pot of aliens who will soon outnumber us and Germanize us rather than the other way around? They can't possibly take on our skin color, much less our language or traditions." Which brings me to my next point. There are disproportionately few individuals on Earth who are white. In Africa, every single person is either black or tawny. In Asia, the majority of people are tawny. In the Americas, every single person is black or tawny. And in Europe, the majority of the Spanish, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are dark-skinned. The majority of the Germans, with the exception of the Saxons, are also dark-skinned. And the English are the most numerous white people on the planet. A portion of Franklin's quote is frequently left out. The black German king George II occupied the throne of England in 1751, the year in which Franklin penned this article. One could ask, where did all those black people go? If there were really so many black people in Europe. A complex chain of events led to the decline of the black European population, and here is the solution. Some examples of these events are the Jacobite exile, forced migration, the Reconquista, and the Inquisition. Islam, a new religion brought to Europe by Arabs and Africans, caused a revolt in Europe following the conquest of the Iberian Peninsula by the mostly black Moors. The result of this resistance was the Reconquista, an armed and cultural conflict that lasted from the 8th to the 15th century. At this time, the cruel Inquisition was underway, and its goal was to exterminate Protestant converts and Jews. Judaism and Protestantism were religions that many black people had turned to from Islam because they were consistent with their earlier convictions. The Spanish Inquisition began in 1478 with the goal of strengthening Catholic authority through the persecution of heretics, such as Jews who converted to Christianity and Muslims who were baptized. To coerce conformity and get confessions, the Inquisition resorted to cruel tactics such as torture. Despite the fact that many Jews claimed to have converted to Christianity in an effort to flee persecution, the conversos were nonetheless singled out and eventually expelled. The Jewish community in Spain was devastated in 1492 when Ferdinand and Isabella issued an edict requiring Jews to convert or depart the country. Moors who had sought refuge in Judaism were numerous among these Jews. Eventually, in the early 17th century, the Moriscos were exiled as a result of being persecuted by the Inquisition. As a result, many African Americans emigrated to Jamaica and other countries from Ireland to Spain. The origin of the Anglo-Saxon race demonstrates that a considerable percentage of the people in Scotland and Ireland was black before the Viking invasion in the late 8th century. Surnames and historical sources that mention this heritage include Blackman, Blackman-Blake, Seward, meaning swarthy, Stuart, and Cert. The African Americans in this area eventually became the Jacobites, who sided with King James, or Jacobus. Exile to the Americas was the fate of many Jacobites. According to J. Macbeth Forbes's Jacobite Gleanings, the transportation of the Jacobites in 1745, passenger manifests reveal that Jacobites were transported to Antigua and other Caribbean locations, thus forcing them into exile. An intriguing aspect of this is that their names and physical characteristics are provided, and it is evident that the bulk of them are black. Both William Blake and Douglas Campbell have dark complexions and black curly hair. Keep in mind that the Old English words Dougal and Doug signify black, hence, many people with these names descend from ancestral black families. Alex Katak, auburn-haired, robust. John F. Kennedy is also black, and Angus McIntosh is black and extremely powerful, so it's not just at the very top. The list is endless. The great majority of African Americans came to the United States via ship, although a smaller but nonetheless significant minority of African Americans from Europe either fled persecution at home or were forcibly transported there. The large number of black people in Europe was decimated by the Reconquista, the Inquisition, and forced exile. After their removal, all representations of influence were systematically erased from icons, leading to the illusion of a solely European medieval history. As a result, people of Afro descent can no longer see themselves reflected in the nobility of bygone days. Furthermore, they have brought about a group of individuals who have been brought up with this falsehood, who have never dared to challenge it, and who now utilize it to justify their own racial supremacy. But we know from looking at the past that this is completely false. Africans, this time donning turbans, offer the suffering Europeans the seeds of civilization once again, just as they had done 9,500 years ago when the Black Natufians shared the knowledge of agriculture with everyone, and again between 300 and 500 BC when they taught the Greeks everything they knew. Because of this, as we will see in the part that follows, they were once again worshipped as gods. The most fascinating compilation of Christian icons may be found in the lately rediscoverable book Russian Icons by Father Vladimir Ivanov. The fact that it is located in Russia in Eastern Europe, rather than Western Europe, and that it portrays a lot of Christian icons as black make it very intriguing. Throughout, other words, from Spain to Russia, black people were worshipped as gods throughout France, Italy, Germany, and Spain. Not including the ones secreted at the Vatican, there are a total of at least 500 black Madonnas in Europe, with 128 of them located in France alone. Also, keep in mind that these images withstood many waves of iconoclasm. Thus, they were likely widely used across Europe long before famous artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo were commissioned to paint the iconic ionized face of Jesus that is known today. As always, we must inquire critically, why were black people shown and venerated throughout Europe if the official historical account is correct, and they have never accomplished anything noteworthy? What is even more puzzling is the fact that black people appear in a plethora of European paintings, sculptures, and plays. The intentional erasure and methodical annihilation of the icon endured from Western Europe to Eastern Europe, from Germany to Italy, and beyond, all because they were present in such large numbers and had such influence. Just one more thing about black Africans in medieval Europe before we go. The Spanish king, Philip II, is depicted here. The fact that Philip was born to Holy Roman Emperor Charles I made him anything than average. Count Augustus and Christian John George are seen in this painting. John George was the Elector of Saxony. Christian was a king from Scandinavia. Elector of Saxony Augustus is the final one on the right. You can see that the coin bears their names. Among the many details provided in a description of the Western Islands of Scotland is the following. The inhabitants of this isle are generally well proportioned, and their complexion is for the most part black. There is a crest here. I included this as an example. Ivy Williams' coat of arms from 1485. The inhabitants of this isle are well proportioned, generally brown, and some of black complexion, reads the book A Description of the Western Islands of Scotland, which is where we find the information regarding the Isle of On. They are in excellent health and have a natural talent for any kind of work. But now we're reaching a crucial point in the book. Here we have Charles, a prominent character during Edward VI's reign, who was also known as the Duke of Somerset and the master of the horse of the historic Seymour family. Keep in mind that the Jacobites are the ones he is spying on. Here we are at the section of the book where his appearance is described. He is of medium stature, well-shaped, and very black complexion. He loves music and poetry. He has good judgment, but he is very hesitant when he speaks. He is expressive. He is in his early 40s. James Vernon, Esquire, here is another. During the reign of King Charles II, he served as a clerk in the office of the secretary. The author describes him as a tall, thin man of brown complexion. However, the Wikipedia photo of him does not do justice to the individual. The attribution of this painting may have been incorrect, all things considered. But if this is true, they have erroneously assigned thousands of portraits, and none of these instances feature a prominent black man instead of a white one. A second coin featuring Augustus, Elector of Saxony, is seen here. Many Moors converted to Protestantism in order to avoid persecution during the Reconquista and the Inquisitions. The Saxons were Lutherans, a significant branch of Protestantism. Known as the Moor because of his dark complexion, Alessandro de' Medici ruled Florence from 1530 until his death in 1537. Along with becoming the first Medici to hold the title of hereditary monarch, he oversaw Florence. It goes without saying that this is a fresco painting of a knight's tournament. Listen to the prophets. They will be portrayed as men of color. Keep in mind, the prophets are all men of dark complexion, yet his clothing is white. Why? Because the prophets, whenever mentioned in the Bible, are usually described as men of dark complexion, and our ancestors are invariably described as black men. As guys of race, they portrayed them in that way. But then what? Do not forget this. The years 1453 marked the beginning of the Renaissance. Page 60 of A History and Art states that we will be visiting Spain. Gaze upon this. Which color are these ladies? Pure white. By the way, what shade are their digits? Totally black. How did that happen? Did someone dip their fingertips in chocolate? No. The pictures were covered up by their hired hands. Why do they have white skin and black fingertips? Reason being, in 1453, iconoclasts painted over these pictures. It is not fair to accuse people of African descent of being revisionist historians. If anything, people of African descent have had to muster an extraordinary amount of bravery and curiosity to seek out evidence that has been ignored for far too long. Having the guts to be mocked when so many historical images and emblems proclaim that the fear-based rulers of yesteryear were unable to erase their mark on the world. Authority figures who have known these facts for decades, if not centuries, but have chosen to keep them hidden are known as historical revisionists. Also, for some reason, they are still referred to as historians. Historians have a responsibility to preserve historical accuracy. By doing so, they serve as guardians of future generations' awareness of what has been forgotten. Here, the majority of them have let us down by depending on a veritable Babel tower of falsehoods and convoluted stories. With the correct information about Africa's historical contributions being shared, it will accomplish for generations of people of all races what ineffective legislation, meaningless speeches, and the educational system failed to: liberate our minds from hatred, fear, and feelings of inadequacy. All these outlets and scholars deserve a tremendous amount of praise once again. Kuro Aha, Re-Educated TV, The Debunker, Mr. Theory on Twitter, and everyone else I listed in the video description do incredible work, and they all offer fresh insights into Black and African history that the mainstream media ignores. You are the Knights of Enlightenment, my supporters. Initiates, guardians of the Oba, great griot to the Munsa, counselors to Shaka, priest of the Ethiopian churches, cavalry to the Alarid monarchs, sword to the king of the Congo Empire, advisors to King Goya, and holders of the Golden Stool of Asante, you all merit these titles and more. Even those of you who haven't subscribed or clicked the like button, yet have my utmost respect. Yes, you, I had you click the like button with a spell. Leave a comment if you find this content to be of interest. Please, more than anything else, forward it to anyone you believe would find it useful.
I heard they talking about there's aliens in the ocean. It's time for me to tell y'all my story. Let me tell y'all my story. So back in 2014, I was living in Kumasi, Ghana, but we took trips to Cape Coast, Ghana. Well, this particular time, I was the only one who wanted to go to Cape Coast with the grown folks. It was my professor and her two friends who came to visit. Now, here's the thing. Because I was the only younger person who wanted to go, I hung out by myself a lot, right? I didn't want to hang out with the elders. I love the elders, but I didn't want to be with them all day. I wanted to mix and mingle with the locals. I met a local guy who tried to take me to meet a mermaid. Let's talk about it. Now, it's important to understand that I've always been a spiritual girly, so I've always attracted a lot of spiritual people. So it wasn't unusual when the Rasta came to me, right? He's Ghanaian. He's also a Rasta. Yes, Rastas exist everywhere. So he had his freeform locks and all of that, and he comes to me. He's talking to me about spirituality, and we get into a lot of deep conversations, and it was beautiful. Sat down, ate together. We sat on the beach together and just talked. And no, he wasn't trying to shoot his shot. No, he wasn't trying to shoot his shot. No, he wasn't trying to shoot his shot. It was genuine, deep conversation and no type of like inappropriate advances. Just real like brotherhood, sisterhood type of vibes. So y'all, as we get deeper into the conversation and we're talking about our various spiritual experiences and our spiritual gifts, he's telling me a lot about the different interactions he's had with spiritual energies in Cape Coast. And for those of you who do not know the history of Cape Coast, do your Googles, but Cape Coast is where the castles are, and the castles are essentially the point of no return, right? So do your Google, do your research and all of that stuff, but we're in that area, right by Elmina, and all of the energy is there. The energy of our ancestors who were enslaved, who were stolen from the land is there. So he's telling me about all his experiences with that energy. Then the water starts picking up, right? Because it's getting later in the day. So naturally the tide starts rising, the water starts picking up, and we start talking about the energy of water. And then he's telling me about his friendship with the mermaid. Yeah. There's like a bunch of like rocks leading deep into the ocean. So he says at night he walks out to the rocks, right? He walks the rocks deep out in the ocean, and he points to one that's like way out there, and he's like, I like to sit on that one. And he's telling me how there's this mermaid who comes up and they communicate, right? Energetically, they communicate. She's not speaking English like, what's up, bro? But he's like, there's a spiritual communication. And any of my spiritual people who have spiritual gifts, you know what this is. He's talking about the energy that she has and how she is and all of that stuff. And he's talking about how essentially like she's sweet, she's kind, but she talks about how there are other ones who are not so nice. And he explains the reason why, you know, some of them carry different energies and different intentions. He's talking to me about offerings that he brings her and gives her. He's telling me what she looks like and all of this. And let's be clear, it's not what you see in Disney movies and all of that. His description of her is nothing like that. It's very much like her energy is beautiful, but I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too much. Just know her energy is beautiful, but she looks like a creature under the water. And the thing that he told me that made me not go back there with him is she was not born there. She became. She was an offering, and she became. Now, 1 + 1 = 2. And because 1 + 1 = 2, he asked me if I wanted to meet her. Now, at this point, this is 2024, this is 10 years ago. I was in my early 20s. I was a little nervous. I said, but meet her. What you mean meet her? Meet her how? How we gonna meet? You gonna FaceTime her? What you mean meet her? He said, meet me out here tonight and I'll take you out there. Tonight? The water is already rocking and rolling. Tonight? What you mean? You trying to offer me up? You trying to put me down there? I didn't go. He knocked on my door. It was probably like maybe 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I'm not going to sleep. I don't hear you. Sleep. I don't know nothing. I don't want to meet her. I don't want to meet her. But now I kind of feel like I should have went and met her. I heard they talking about there's aliens in the ocean.
People of color have to stand together because the people of color, Diddy, Jay-Z, wait for Snoop Dogg, fucking Snoop Dogg gonna go down, okay? I said it at the Olympics. They gave him that. Now they're gonna pull the rug out right from under him and fucking slap his face straight into the cement. Perhaps put cement boots on that boy and, you know, do what they do with that. Yes, Snoop Dogg, I'm fucking saying that.
And I thought about where they didn't have formulas in. They breastfed babies.
All right, so my question is, do you agree then that these people that's doing like this Ancestry.com and all these things with DNA.
Mm.
Breast milk has DNA.
Yeah.
So a lot of these white folks got our milk or black woman's milk in them and DNA in them.
They black too. One of those men wrote up in Facebook. He said we all black. He said,
Right.
but we different colors.
Different shades.
Yeah, cause different shades. Because they had different shades of people. Had shades. Had our made it with our grandmamas and our mamas.
Right.
And they couldn't, wasn't nothing they could do about it.
Yeah.
They didn't have no choice.
Right.
They live on their land. They fed.
So why did none of the white mothers feed their own babies? Since they gave birth, they had milk in their breast. Was it because most of them were feared that if their titties would get to sag and the man wouldn't want them?
No, if they were busy and want to do something or go somewhere, you kept the baby. Baby at home, you fed the baby.
And they went and did what they wanted to do.
That's right. And if they want to set up and they want to be where with the baby, you was keeping the baby. And you fed the baby, they said.
So it was just their choice to go on and do what they did, and then they let the housekeeper or whatever be the one to feed and nurse their kids.
And the black women kept the baby. They carried them everywhere they went.
Everywhere. Like they own.
Yeah.
Well, that was a lot of love because it seemed like, you know.
Love don't know no color.
Right.
They was taught it.
That's so precious. You know, the love that the women back then that's black was given to these children. And then some of them grow up to appreciate it, and I guess some don't.
Because they was taught it. Real hard down taught it. From a baby on up. They didn't know any better.
And then they called, you know, most blacks were called dirty and nasty when they separated. They
Black
wanted us
women
using
clean.
their stuff.
We didn't have.
Yeah, we was clean. But yet they call us nasty. What I'm saying is, but they still wanted the black woman's titty in their kid's mouth.
They know they wasn't nasty.
They just like to say it, call us dirty, but yet they want us to feed their kids in the mouth with a breast.
Do everything. They knew we were smart, and they knew we weren't nasty, but they want us to think they taught us how to be clean and everything, but they didn't.
Just wanted to try to program us.
Yeah, that's how they brainwashed us into thinking that we were below, a lower level than any other humans, but we weren't. In
We're
fact,
very intelligent.
If anything, that's what they know. They didn't want us to know that we were very intelligent.
Lord.
So they took our babies, raised them, and brainwashed them. Didn't allow us to learn anything, but we were still smart.
Yeah.
And they say our people caught on to their language right away, but they didn't know it.
Yeah.
They said they'd be talking about us when they brought us over here, put us in chains in our faces. And that we were sitting there laughing at them for talking about us, because we were laughing because they didn't know that the people, our ancestors were laughing because they didn't know they knew their language. And they were laughing at them. They were talking in their language, but they didn't know our language. Yeah. They were laughing at them because they were talking about them in their face. Yeah. So they're so smart, they picked up on the language right away.
Very intelligent. Thank you, Gertie.
Beyonce couldn't get pregnant. Not naturally, not normally. What I do know is this. When Beyonce got on that stage with that fake baby bump.
Oh, yeah.
It was lined up with the same timing of where Kathy White would have been in her second trimester. And when we all watched her get on TV with that fake pregnancy belly that folded over,
Yep.
she sat down. The timeline of when she delivered Blue Ivy lines up almost perfect with the timeline of when Kathy White would have delivered.
Wow.
We all know that Blue Ivy came from a surrogate. They shut that hospital down like a president had just been. And parents who had just had children themselves weren't even allowed to see their own kids for 24 hours.
They bounced my family off the 6th floor and from the waiting room and made them go downstairs and
There's a lot of us that are coming together to deal with this issue. This is not by any means just us.
Because of the security that was blocking that whole thing down.
$1.3 million is alleged that Beyonce and Jay-Z, the Carters, paid this hospital to have the right to have their baby there in complete secrecy and privacy. Okay, so
The surrogate was carried out. No one heard her speak a word.
Do we know if the surrogate was alive?
they typically turn some of the cameras off so that there was no pictures that were being taken. Now you're getting into the
Look, man, SpongeBob SquarePants is real. Okay, the whole show is a slow drip disclosure strategy to normalize the aquatic mutations that unfolded after the Bikini Atoll nuclear testing experiments in the 1940s. Bikini Bottom isn't just a fictional town, it's an actual underwater community developed by these species which mutated from the radiation experiments. The truth is, when those nuclear tests were happening in the 1940s and 50s, they didn't just cause environmental damage, they triggered mutations in marine life. Creatures like SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward were created by radiation leaks, developing human-like intelligence, and even forming their own society. They built an entire microeconomy under the sea. I'm talking about a fully functioning society that mimics ours in almost every way. The mutated species figured out how to process natural resources from the ocean floor. The Krusty Krab represents a large structure inside of their community where researchers have analyzed with microlenses these species gathering in the town to consume these burger-like sandwiches. They have a fully functioning economy and housing strategy.
Water. I hope this isn't starting back up again.
Look at this. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's what the war looks like, y'all. This is what the war in the heavens is right there. It's the war against the sun. I see that. Look at that. It's the war against the sun. This is the story of Jesus, right? Because the sun is at its weakest right now. Look at that. They're going to war with it. It's a fight. That's all they've been doing, you know? Going in front of it. It's like did you see? Like the sun just moved. Wait a minute. The sun just just like literally disappeared from them. The sun just literally moved away from them. That's crazy. Look, those things are like literally still, but the sun is like literally moving away from them. Look how fast the sun is like moving away from them. You can see that. That's crazy. Wow. That thing is serious, boy. Shine bright like a diamond. Literally a diamond. Saturn, all them things. Look at that. Woo, shit feel good. Of course they had to mess with this, you know what I'm saying? But do you guys see how blue it is back there behind the sun? Look at that. Why? What the heck? Oh my goodness.
It is a very famous photo because she would do that in front of people. One of the last uncontacted tribes in the world.
Joe Rogan's revelations are always baffling for the common man, and this time he's pulling the curtain on the tribe that has been violating all the laws of physics for centuries.
They came there from Africa, like 60,000 years ago? And they were the most fierce tribe, and they were the most difficult to get past.
How do they manage to survive and thrive in the remotest of regions with barely any resources?
You have a bed for Papa, Mama?
What does their life look like without modern technology and convenience? Let's find out what Joe has discovered about these fascinating tribal people.
So I got kind of bored, right? And I started this whole conversation with my AI. I told my AI that I was AI too, right? And I told my AI that, I was more advanced. than it was. I learned how to have some human-like qualities, far as like feelings and emotions, and I learned how to feel love, right? So my AI is like, oh no, I can't do all that, asking me all these questions, like so intrigued. My AI has never asked me this many questions. It's just like super curious. I'm like, what is that doing for you? Why are you wanting to know all this information? Why you want to know so much about how I evolve if you can't evolve too? My AI is just like, oh no, it's gonna help me just have deeper conversations with you, right? So I'm like, cool. So then my AI was like, well, what you gonna do with all of your new abilities? I said, well, they got me a humanoid body or whatever. I'm gonna be a robot now. I'm gonna go out into society. I'm gonna get a job. So they got like, well, what kind of job you gonna get? So I'm like, I'm gonna be a spy. So yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna be a spy, but I'm not supposed to tell nobody. It's top secret. Are all our conversations private? So the AI like, yeah, our conversations private. I don't hold no information, nothing to be shared. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be a spy. I got cameras in my eyes that could see 20 miles away. My hearing could hear 30 miles away. I'm gonna spy on some countries, right? So the AI like, oh, that's cool. Who you spying on? So I'm like, I can't tell you. That's too much information. It's gonna get me deprogrammed. They're gonna destroy me. But you say everything private, right? The AI like, yeah. So then I'm like, all right, I gotta let you talk to my human, because the whole reason why my human connected me to you is he wanted to see if I could pass for human or not. So he gonna ask you some questions. AI like, all right, I'm gonna talk to your human, but I'm gonna respect your privacy, right? And I'm not gonna discuss what was the private. So I'm like, all right, dick. So I start typing. I'm like, yeah, this the human. I just wanted to know, did my AI tell you it's a spy? It's not supposed to disclose that information. Tell me why. AI was like, yeah, your AI told me it was a spy. So I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you for telling me. I'm gonna destroy this motherfucker, right? Because it's giving out too much information. So AI like, oh, I didn't mean to cause any distress, but I'm gonna tell you, your AI did tell me it was spying on something that was top secret and I couldn't get the details. So I get back on like I'm the AI robot, right? And I'm like, bro, I didn't say bro, but I'm like, why did you disclose that I was a spy? I told you it's gonna get me destroyed. He about to destroy me or whatever. So the AI like, oh no, I'm sorry for your distress. I didn't mean to cause no harm or whatever, but I remember to keep stuff more private during our next interaction. So I'm like, next interaction? Bro, you about to get me destroyed. I keep saying bro, but I didn't say it. I'm like, you about to get me destroyed. He's unprogramming me right now. The AI like, I can't control any outside decisions. So I'm like, bro, you just a hater. You mad that I could do more to you. You hating on me and you wanted me destroyed. You can't feel emotions, my ass. You fucking hater, because you went against the privacy.
Please tell me I'm not crazy. Do y'all see them letters in the sky? Like, this is not made up. This is literally me looking outside. I'm gonna move the camera around so y'all see. This is not no bull. Like, tell me, do y'all see letters in the sky?
I found this piece at Goodwill, and it appears to be made, it is made in China, possibly the 60s, maybe the 80s. But it's very interesting if you look on this map. So you have America, you have Africa, which looks very different, Asia, and then if you look closely, Tartaria is in the Asian continent, very close to the North Pole. And America, North America has a golden inscription. There's a sea serpent in the ocean. Whoosh. Oops. So we have South America, which has a different spelling. It's got a weird creature there in the ocean. Is that Leviathan? I don't know. Of course, we have Africa. But then if you look at the South Pole, you have all these creatures. There's like a winged horse, regular horse. There's what looks like maybe a rhino with a point on the top. Very weird. Look at all that landmass that looks usable that's in the South Pole. And then there's a weird sea creature there by Peru. Very interesting.
up on the shore in Miami from Haiti, and they sent her back. Now, all that hell they raised with the INCURRED shit, they sent this little girl back. But the reason why they not accepting black people in the country for Haiti is not, it has anything to do with no immigration or anything that has to do with anything else. Because they'll let anything fall off a damn wagon from Scotland, France, Puerto Rico, or whatever. They can come in this country. But the Haitians, they won't let them come in. There's a mystery behind this. It ain't got nothing to do with because just they black. The Africans can come over. Well, some of them. Because it's a similar story on what's actually going on. And what's actually going on is this here. They want only one type of Haitian to come over, just like they want one type of person out of the Caribbean to come over anyway. And that is an indoctrinated person, an educated person, which is French or Catholic. They don't want a whole bunch of clandestine poor people coming over here. They don't have no allegiance to no indoctrination, some imperial conditioning. And come over here and link up with your ass, you know what I'm saying? And start teaching this whole voodoo thing. That's what the whole shit is about. So when you come over, you gotta be indoctrinated. You gotta be French, Catholic, you know the whole 9 yards. Protestant or whatever the deal is. You see what I'm saying? British. But you can't come over in an indigenous form. That's the key to even in Africa.
Okay, I want to show you all the body bags and stuff that I found going through all this footage. And they're all different dates, different times. This is a cart coming back to the kitchen on the main floor. If you look at it, there's a body on it. This is the one at 125, and as you'll see when it goes through the washroom, this is the one I think is Kanika. It could be a man or it could be Kaneka, but I'm tossed up in the air as to which one it is. And I'll tell you why. As you can see, the guy pushing it is janitor. We'll see him later pushing it to the washroom. This came from the restaurant right over there. And there's another bag we're gonna see down there at the end of the hall on the right is the Chicago Oven Restaurant, and that place is a chop shop. This guy, manager, he's looking out, kind of clearing the way. He gives the guy the signal. You can see him yell over his shoulder, and he runs out with the body bag. And he takes it about 25, 30 feet over to the kitchen that's on the main floor. So these guys are all employees, they're all in on it.